It was another Friday in Washington, USA. I was getting ready for my best friend's birthday party tonight. In the evening, I left for the party location in my car. After 40 minutes of driving, I arrived at the party, and my friend Daniel warmly welcomed me. The party was set to start at 7 p.m., and all the guests seemed to be enjoying themselves. During the festivities, my phone rang, so I stepped outside the party hall to answer the call. As I stood there, I noticed people gazing up at the night sky. After finishing my call, I approached someone who was also staring at the sky and asked them why everyone was so captivated by it. What they told me left me shocked. They said they had seen a massive light in the sky, and it had moved incredibly fast without making a sound. Moreover, they mentioned that they watched it for about 5 minutes before it suddenly disappeared. Intrigued by the possibility of a UFO sighting, I scanned the sky to find any abnormal occurrences but came up empty. After a few minutes, the people who had been watching the sky left one by one, heading back to their activities. I couldn't help but wait for a little while longer, my fascination with UFOs and the mysteries of the universe driving me to stay outside. After a few more minutes, I decided to rejoin the party as one of my friends had requested that I join them for the festivities. Time passed unnoticed as everyone enjoyed themselves. We had a great time at the party, and the hours flew by until it was well past midnight. Eventually, the party came to an end, and I began searching for my friend Daniel to thank him for the wonderful birthday celebration. I found him engaged in a conversation with a girl. I approached him, expressed my gratitude for the party, and let him know I was leaving. He thanked me for being part of the celebration and then asked for a favor. I inquired about the nature of his request, and he explained that his friend, Emily, lived near my home and needed a ride back. I agreed to make sure she got home safely. Finally, Emily and I left the party and headed to the car park. I opened the car door for her, and she took the front seat. We began the journey to her place, which was only about 1 kilometer from my own. During the drive, Emily and I struck up a conversation. She was a beautiful girl with an alluring figure, and I was 2 years older than her. We chatted about the party, and I mentioned the unidentified light I had seen in the sky during the festivities. To my surprise, she revealed that one of her friends had also mentioned seeing something similar. The clock had struck 1 a.m., and the road appeared completely deserted. The streetlights were flickering and then suddenly went off. It took us by surprise, and our car came to a halt as the power supply was interrupted. Emily and I were both shocked by this unexpected turn of events. We found ourselves alone in a dark and desolate place, with only the soft glow of the moonlight to guide us. In an attempt to shed some light on the situation, we tried to switch on the flashlights on our mobile phones, but to our dismay, they wouldn't turn on. We were left in a state of shock and confusion, staring at our powerless devices. It felt like everything had happened in just a matter of minutes, and we were left feeling helpless and vulnerable in the darkness. Emily's grip on my hand tightened as she pointed to a source of light in the sky. As I watched, the light seemed to be approaching us slowly, gradually growing brighter. We were left utterly speechless, and beads of sweat formed on our foreheads. The light drew nearer within a matter of seconds, hovering very close to our car. To my amazement, I realized that it resembled the flying saucers I had seen in movies. It was enormous, larger than a football field, and it emitted a mesmerizing array of different colored lights around its circumference. Emily and I remained silent, still holding each other's hands tightly. The light continued to intensify, illuminating the entire area around us, and making us feel increasingly uneasy. Even more alarming, our car started to vibrate, adding to our sense of dread. Feeling like we had no other option, we decided to open the car door and make a run for it. But as we tried to move, we were unable to run or move. It was as if we had lost control of our bodies. I felt as if I had become weightless, unable to move my hands or feet. Turning my gaze towards Emily, I witnessed an unbelievable sight. She was being drawn into the bright light, disappearing within the flying object in a matter of seconds. Then, I, too, attempted to muster all my strength to move, but it was futile. I, too, was sucked into the sky, and my mind went blank. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in an endless, extremely bright white expanse. It seemed infinite due to the overwhelming intensity of the light. Shadows occasionally darted through the brilliance, but before I could make sense of it, I lost consciousness once more. I had no concept of what had transpired or how much time had passed. When I came to once more, my first sight was of a familiar night sky, complete with the comforting presence of the moon. It took a bit longer for me to realize that I was lying on the ground, and I felt distinctly uncomfortable. As I gradually regained my senses, my shock deepened with each passing moment. I observed my male body transformed into a female form, dressed in the clothes I distinctly recognized as Emily's from the party. I couldn't comprehend what had happened to me. It took some time for me to recall that I had come here from the birthday party with Emily. Furthermore, I realized I was now inhabiting a girl's body, wearing Emily's dress. I mustered the strength to stand up, but it was an awkward experience in a female body. As I surveyed my surroundings, I noticed that all the streetlights were functioning normally, and my car was visible in the distance. I made my way towards the car, feeling quite uncomfortable in my new form. I moved slowly, all the while scanning my surroundings for any sign of Emily. Upon reaching the car, I spotted a person lying on the ground nearby, and I approached with trepidation. My shock and perspiration intensified as I realized the person was not just anyone, it was me. I tried to call out to him but was astounded when my voice, which had been my own male voice, was now unmistakably Emily's. With a sense of urgency and disbelief, I sprinted to the car and peered into the rearview mirror, hoping to gain some understanding of the bewildering situation. As I looked at my reflection, the truth of what had happened began to sink in. Panicking, I rushed back to the spot where my male body lay and attempted to wake him. After a few minutes, he began to stir. When he regained his composure, he too was taken aback upon seeing me. He tried to speak, and in Emily's voice, he identified himself as Emily. It was at that moment that I fully comprehended the bizarre situation we were in. I began explaining the situation to Emily, and after a prolonged discussion, she came to understand the reality of the situation. We both got into the car, and left in silence, the weight of our surreal experience hanging heavy in the air. After a few minutes, I attempted to locate our phones, and I found them near the car. I turned on both phones, but Emily had not yet returned to her normal state. I was perplexed about how we could effectively share the phones, given that we were now occupying different bodies. The unusual predicament continued to baffle me. As we turned on the phones, we noticed several missed call alerts, most of them from our parents. Checking my missed calls, I confirmed that they were from both our parents. Glancing at the time, it read 4 a.m., and I realized we needed to address the situation. I decided to share the phones and called our parents, reassuring them that we were on our way home. After making the call, I explained to Emily that we had to return to our respective homes and meet up again in the morning because we were now in different bodies.